Hi, I'm Nathan. I go by Peteparker, and every week I do comic book reviews because that's the rule at my house. If I want to keep buying them, I have to review them. So this review is going to be for Deadpool Max number 9, right here. And exactly as the cover states on here, this is an explicit content book meant for adults only, which means that there's extra violence, extra nudity, and extra swearing sometimes. There's even drugs in this one, so there's definitely nudity in this one too, which I was thinking was going to be funny. Anyway, this is written by David LaFemme and drawn by Sean Crystal. I basically bought this book because I bought Fear Itself Deadpool last week, and I thought that was funny enough that I was kind of on a Deadpool high, expecting something similar to that in this book. And then at the same time, there is a very large stripper that Deadpool ordered for Bob, agent of Hydra, to try to work him out of his funk. So those two things, this is the whole reason why I bought the book. So the story goes that Bob, the agent of Hydra, has just lost his job, so he's lost everything in his life and he's getting really depressed. Lost his job, his wife, his family, or whatever, a bunch of stuff. And so to get him out of this, Deadpool decides to take him on a bachelor party. And I don't know if they show exactly where it is. So he drugs him, and he wakes up, and they're in a hotel room somewhere with another dude named Weasel that they brought in, who's carrying a weasel and looks like a weasel. I thought that was going to be the same Weasel character that Deadpool has worked with before, but he's probably dead, and they probably just threw it in there because Deadpool has an aversion to people named Weasel, or calls people Weasel when they look like him, or whatever. And then, so Bob passes out again, and then they're in the car, and it turns out that they're in a stolen police car, and they're all on angel dust, I think, or PCP, that the Weasel guy has given to them. And the Weasel guy sells illegal weapons also, and they're on the run. And so Bob doesn't know what's going on, and it turns out that they're on their way to stop one of the strippers' pimp or whatever. There's a big discussion about how not all strippers are prostitutes and not all prostitutes are strippers, and then one of the strippers happens to have a pimp that Deadpool feels like he needs to go and attack for her or whatever. So that's what they're going to go do, and it turns out to be a trap, and all the strippers are already there and ready to gun him down or whatever. So they basically fight, and Weasel turns out to be the actual pimp who set all this up, except for they're really mad at the other rather large stripper that came to Deadpool's room, who they were after the whole time, and Deadpool and Bob just got caught up in it. So Deadpool and Bob basically start the girls fighting against each other and kind of duck out of the whole fight, and then talk about never doing that again. So the nice thing about this story is that it's an all-in-one story. This is one issue that you need to read, that you could read, and you get a whole story. The cover has nothing to do with this at all. They do mention Outlaw, this chick Inez, in the story, but they don't really have her in there at all. I guess there's kind of a Bachelor-esque kind of theme to the front, but it's difficult, right? I was expecting it to be funnier than it is. It's not really all that funny. It's kind of, I don't know, you kind of grin at it maybe once or twice. But the written jokes just don't land as well as the visual jokes do, and the visual jokes are only okay. So I would have skipped this if I could have read it before I bought it. But the art is good. I do like the art quite a bit. And I like that it's a little bit more adult themed also. It kind of opens these characters up a little bit, even though there's a lot of kind of cheesy things that happen throughout. And then probably the best part of this whole book is the add-on of the Daredevil #1 here, which is really beautiful. It's drawn by Marcos Martin. I'm always a fan of Marcos Martin, and you got the Spot in there, Johnny Ohm or whatever his name is. Jonathan, which I like that character also. And the best part of even that story is the very end, where Daredevil is seeing Spot with his radar sense right here. And if you look really close, like all of those holes, you can tell that they're holes. That's a really meticulous drawing. There's an in point and an out point, and you can see into holes and see different directions of holes. Because a lot of times with the Spot, all you get is the darkness, right? You get the dark circles all over the place. But with Deadpool's radar sense, you really get the depth of each one of these holes, how they go on forever, and how it's all throughout his whole body. It's really cool. So, sadly, that was the best part of this book. At $3.99, this is not worth $3.99, that's for sure. $2.99, maybe, sure, probably. But I don't know if I'll be keeping going with the Deadpool Max series. I was hoping, I don't know. It just really wasn't all that funny, and it wasn't worth it. So there you go. I'll probably give it a 2 out of 5. It's not like an average book. I think it's less than average, and it's expensive for what it is. So there you go. 2 out of 5. Deadpool Max #1. Go ahead and skip it. You might look at the rest of the Deadpool Max series. I might look at the rest of the Deadpool Max series and see if there's anything else there that's interesting. But other than that, you can probably get that Deadpool back up in anything else that came out this week too. So there you go. 2 out of 5. If you want to check out my other reviews, I'm Spidey207 on YouTube and Peteparker just about everywhere else. Everywhere that reviews are that you can post video on, that's what I'm trying to put them out there. So, and if you have any suggestions for me, any questions for me, just leave them in the comments and I'll get back to them eventually as soon as I possibly can. But until then, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.